All right. Hey, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm your club princess, Miguel. And today we'll be doing our first workshop on the Godot game engine. So, of course, we sent an announcement for this earlier, but if you didn't see it, while we're in the intro stages here, please install Godot 3.5 from their website. And we also have an assets folder that you can download from our announcements channel on the Discord. We apologize. We sent an incorrect assets folder earlier, so we actually had to send like another one. So please make sure you have the right assets folder downloaded, the one from Sam's updated post. So first of all, let's talk about what a game engine actually is, because of course, if we're going to talk about Godot, we'd have to know what a game engine is. Game engines are these development environments that facilitate the development of video games. If you've used them before, they might be more equivalent to IDEs for general software development, or if you're musical like me, if you know about a digital audio workstation software, they're also similar to that, but for games rather than music. We happen to stand on the shoulders of giants because game engines let us skip having to program like basically everything from scratch. Most game engines come bundled with a lot of different things like physics engine, asset importing, graphics processing, and even some like audio handling, like all of these built into the actual engine. So we don't have to like, start from scratch and just write all those libraries ourselves. Those libraries help us save a lot of time for actually being able to go from nothing to being able to make a game. So game engines are extremely useful. And of course, they're very powerful too, because even though we already have a lot of stuff built already, we can also build on top of that ourselves using custom scripting. Some examples of game engines that you may or may not have heard about. The two big ones probably will be Unity and Unreal Engine, which are industry standard and that a lot of popular games use. Godot, which we will be working with today. Game Maker Studio is another one. You might have heard of it because I believe Undertale used it for its development. And there are even some other more specialized game engines that work for specific games. If you've heard of RPG Maker, that one's for, of course, RPG games. And then RenPy, which is an environment for developing visual novels. And of all the weird ones, Roblox actually is a game engine as well. All the games in Roblox were developed by users who used an editor, who used the Roblox game engine in order to create all those strange-looking games. So we're going to be going over the Godot game engine specifically, because there are like many game engines that are free like before a certain like size of like your own game. But in this workshop, we will be actually using Godot in order to make potentially our first game. Of course, like any other software with like a lot of competing different, like a lot of competitors, Godot has certain pros and cons. The big ones, which is why we're doing Godot first, is that it is significantly easier to learn and work with Godot, at least in my opinion. I tried messing with Unity about first when I first joined this club, and I found it to be a bit hard. But when I swapped over to Godot, I had a lot easier of a time being able to learn things. Part of it is because of GDScript. GDScript is the scripting language that Godot uses. It's very similar to Python in terms of like its syntax. Instead of like curly brackets, it uses tabs. And there's a lot less just punctuation in general, which makes it a bit easier to read the code sometimes. And on top of that, it's also very flexible in whether or not, if you want to do dynamic versus static typing, which is if you, instead of having to define each of your variables as a type, you can define it as the variant type, which will basically make it so you can just assign it any type, which if you don't want to have to keep track, you can use the variant type in order to more easily and quickly write out code, or you can be statically typed, which is, you have to, every single variable, you just define what type it is. I also found that its documentation for if you want to do reading if you want to do extra reading besides, of course, what we're going to go over here, I find that Godot's documentation is actually not that bad. A lot of documentation sucks to go through in general for software because of course the people writing it are programmers, but I found that Godot's docs were actually pretty helpful for when I was first starting to code for Godot, so it's very nice. And of course, Godot's big strength is that it's also very useful for 2D gameplay. 3D gameplay, maybe not as much. You can see in the cons section, but for 2D games, it's much easier, in my opinion. A lot more. What's the term? It's a lot easier to get your head around it compared to, say, like Unity or Unreal. And of course, another thing is that it's very lightweight and portable. So of course, even if your laptop's kind of bad, it probably can still run Godot because Godot is extremely lightweight. It's also easy to download and it doesn't take very long to load, which is nice. And of course, if you're interested in like open source software, Godot is open source and it's actually developed using itself, which is interesting. But of course, its main con is that it's not as capable for like 3D games, although that's going to be changing in an upcoming update. For now, the stable releases are not as robust as other engines like Unity and Unreal, of course, are both very powerful 3D engines, and Godot, for now, is not as robust. And of course, the big thing is that Godot isn't really industry standard. There aren't really any like smash hit releases that Godot has put out, but even despite that, I still think that Godot is a very powerful editor and a very good place to start learning. Oops. So of course, we have to go over some basic things about Godot before we actually enter the editor. So in Godot, we organize our game project as a tree of nodes and scenes, which if you've taken your data structures class, you should know what a tree is. I believe it looks like this. So a node will be the smallest unit of construction for your game project. These nodes are going to be, the equivalent to these like circle things on this tree, which is how our project will be organized. Godot comes with a number of like functional nodes built in, things like physics bodies, timers, sprites. All these nodes will be like useful for like instantly like developing, like for easily developing games, but you can also program custom scenes to be added as nodes. And of course, each node will be able to have one script. We've mentioned Godot scripting capabilities earlier. Each node can have up to one script attached to it. But we can also create scenes, which are reusable subtrees. These subtrees we will like create ourselves and define them as scenes. And scenes both consist of nodes, so you can make them out of nodes like a tree. But because they're subtrees, they can also act as nodes. So you can make it so a scene can have other scenes making it up. But of course, in order for these nodes and scenes to interact, Godot also has a signal system. Nodes are able to like emit a signal, and then scripts attached to another node can have a function connected to that signal. By connecting it, this function will listen to the signal. So when that signal is emitted, the connected function will run. Already, Godot also has a lot of helpful signals outside of the box. For example, the timer node is a node that will start a timer when it is activated either in cone or auto started. And when the timer ticks to 0, it'll emit a timeout signal that you can use to start basically anything, really. And of course, now that I've gone over this introduction, I'm going to start switching over to the engine so that we can actually start seeing what it looks like. Let me actually open a new project. This is so what we're going to do here is we're going to go from scratch and we're going to program this game right here. Hi, welcome in. So this game, as you can see, it's very bare bones. It's simply, if you've played like the Pokemon games, it's very similar to the sliding puzzle where you control your character, but you can only press a direction once when you're at standstill in order to move around, and you can't start moving around like while you're mid-slide, so you're sliding around on the ice. The goal of the game is to collect all the coins, so I'll do that here.
We can't see the game.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, sure. I can switch over. I'll start it over. Let me switch.
You can stream the screen if you want.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to worry about all this stuff.
Here we go. For those of you on Discord, there is sound. Unfortunately, I don't think you'll be able to hear it with how I'm streaming this, but. So again, similar to the Pokemon games, this is an ice like sliding puzzle. I can only input a direction when the character is moving still, so it'll basically slide around as if like moving on ice on many other video games. The goal is to collect all of the coins while avoiding the spike ball enemies. And once you finish the level, you'll win. Or if you accidentally hit, or well, purposely in this case, if you hit a spike ball, you will instead go to a game over screen. And you can see there's a try again button or the exit button. The exit button just takes you back to the main menu. And we will try to code this basically, or try to create this game basically from scratch using only the assets that we already have. So let's start from like the beginning. Let me just reopen Godot. When you first open Godot from wherever you've installed it, you'll see this screen, which will have all of your projects that you've already created that you can open, or you can create a new project. So I'll create a new project here. So you'll have to create it in an empty folder. So this top section is for actually creating that folder. Let's just use the OpenGL ES 3.0 render for now.
Just a quick question. People in the back, are you guys able to see it better now?
So when we first open the editor, you'll see all of this stuff. If you're unfamiliar with game engines, it might be a lot to take in. So I'll try to explain a couple things about it real quick. In the top left corner, you'll see here the scene tab. This is where you'll get options if you want to create new scenes, which are those like reusable bits of gameplay that we will use to like actually assemble games. We can do things like just open scenes that we already have, or we can create new ones, or we can even create inherited scenes. Inherited scenes will share the same properties with the scene that you inherit from, which is like object-oriented programming if you've done some programming before. You'll also see the project tab here. The most important section in the project tab will be this project settings. We're going to go back into here for a bit, but you can see there's a lot of different settings here that you can use in order to change the way that the entire game runs. You can see, for example, here will be your input map, which we'll use for controls later. You can see we can edit properties of the physics engine here. We can change how like the window size looks, all sorts of things. There's a lot, and even I don't actually know everything about the project settings, window, but it's a very powerful tool for like it's very important for setting up at first. And then if you look just underneath those, you'll see the scene and the import tabs. So the scene tab will be where you can access the scene that you're opening, like its current nodes. Because we just opened a new project, of course, there's really nothing here. But what we can do is we can start creating the scene. We can say create 2D scene, and this will create a node 2D node. And you can see that we can now see that the editor is switched to 2D. We can add more child nodes. For example, if we wanted to make an image appear, we'll add a sprite. And now the sprite is a child of this node. And then we can make the sprite appear by loading. Is this? Oh, this is not right. Sorry. Oops. Sorry. You can. No. I don't. Sorry. I swear I remember how to do this. New image texture. Right. And
We don't
then
have any assets in the file system.
oh right, I have not imported the assets. Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. All right, well, actually, we should probably import the assets now. So this the way that we can import assets into our new project that we've created is actually we just go into the file editor and we copy paste our assets into the folder that the game engine created for us. So here's our assets folder. I'm just gonna copy it. Oops. And then I'm gonna look for the actual like folder. I believe it should be by default in documents. Is this it? Yeah, this is actually it. So this is the folder that I created for the game. So I'm just gonna paste this in the assets folder, and then when you click off, you'll see in the file system all the assets will now load in on our file system. So when you're importing things, it's very simple. You just use your own OS's file explorer, and you just find the folder that it was created in. So if I can try again with the sprite, I can take, say, the player sprite and just add it in as the texture, and now we have a sprite attached to this node TD. I was just adding the sprite in order to demonstrate like how you can see this node and then this node are now, the sprite is a child of this node, which is how our project will be organized. And if we wanted to, we can add something else like a physics body, like let's do area 2D. If we needed to do physics work, we can do it with things like that. We're not actually gonna use this for now, so I'm actually going to just not save this. So we're gonna actually start working on the game now. So we'll go into our project settings tab, and we're going to change a few settings. First, underneath the display tab, we're going to go to window, and we're going to change the width to 1050, and then change the height to 700. This is changing if for example, if I were to like actually open the game, the initial state of the window is going to be 1050 pixels by 700 pixels. The reason we chose those numbers is because the tile set we're using is, I believe, 70 by 70 pixels. So by setting it to multiples of 70, it's just more convenient. We're also going to go to mode down here in stretch. We're going to change it to mode 2D, and aspect is keep. Doing this is just setting it so that this is mainly for exporting, so that the aspect ratio of the window doesn't change if we were to make this, like, for example, a web game. If we post it on to something like itch.io, or even just like put it in line with a website we have already. We're also going to go into the physics section. We're going to go to we're going to go down very low into layer names. We're going to go to the 2D physics section, and we're going to rename a couple of these layers. So the reason we're going to name these layers is because we just want to make our game project a bit more readable, so we can understand how the project will we can go look back later on our project, and we can read and we can understand, oh, this layer is for this layer is for this. Every single physics object has both a collision layer and a collision mask property, and each will specify one or more of the physics layers that we are about to name. Okay. All right.
Is everyone okay up to this point so far? I see there's some people in the back. I'm not sure if you guys need help with some.
Wait, how do we upload the assets?
Do you need help importing the assets again, or?
Project and then upload it that way, or what tab would you use to upload the asset? I know you have to use copy the path and everything, but where would you insert?
I actually don't remember where the path is. I can. You should have specified the path when you first created the project. I believe if you close the editor and reopen it, it might tell you. Hold on, I can actually. One of the good things about Godot is very lightweight, so you can. Let me just find my Godot file again. You can actually open multiple instances of the engine, which you wouldn't be able to do with others. But here, if you reopen the Godot engine, you can actually see the like for example, for the one we are doing now, this is my path file. You're going to look for this one, and you're going to. You can actually just click on this, and it'll open it up. Let me close this instance of Godot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how do you upload the assets? Like the PNG, like how do you upload those?
Do you have them downloaded already?
Yeah.
All right. So you just need to find the path, and you can actually just copy paste it. You'll see if I'll reopen. I believe mine was documents, Godot workshop. So I have this folder is the path that Godot has created it in. As you can see, if I go back to the Godot window, like this is actually exactly the same. This is actually exactly the same folder. This res folder is basically just means all of this. You can see default .env. Oh yeah, is it open in file manager? Oh yeah, that's probably easier. Thank you so much. So you just open this and you use your OS's file explorer to just copy. You just copy the folder from wherever you downloaded it, and then you paste it just directly into this folder here, which you can open by right-clicking this and going open in file manager. Right. Does anyone else need help with anything so far, or? All right. Is anyone saying anything on the Discord chat?
I'm checking.
All right. So back in the project settings, project setting window, you'll probably be stuck at the top. You're going to go all the way down to the layer names and then 2D physics. As I was saying, we're going to add labels to these physics layers just so we can like understand them better. We'll be able to see them in the editors, so they'll already have names. So we'll just select the ones that are appropriate for the objects we'll create. The way that physics in Godot works is that, and in other game engines as well, is that each object will have like a collision layer and a collision mask property. These two properties will specify one or more of like the layers that we're about to create. Which the layer property, the collision layer, is going to tell us what a scene is. So like say I have this first one, we're going to name player. So our physics objects that are intended to be for the player, we can make them, we'll make their collision layer the player layer. But then it'll also have a mask property, which will tell you what this layer can interact with, basically what it can kind of see. So we want, say in our game, we're going to want our player to interact with some tiles. So our player object will have the layer property of the player. It'll be a player, but it can also interact with tiles. We're actually going to create, we're actually going to name 4 layers. I've named layer 1 player and layer 2 tiles already. Layer 3 will name coin, and then layer 4 will name spike ball. And believe it or not, these are all the layers that we're going to need for our actual game. And I believe, yes.
Workshopping on this?
Sorry, say that again.
How long is this workshop gonna last?
Two
We're thinking
hours.
like maybe till 5.
Till around 5, about 2 hours.
But if you need to go early, we have everything recorded and we'll be uploading it to the YouTube channel if you'd like to follow along later.
No, it's because I'm trying to walk over there right now, and
All
I'm
right.
currently on the phone. So
Yeah, we'll still be here.
We'll still be here, yeah. All right.
Okay, Daniel asks,
Can you repeat the initial changes you make to the window settings? Yeah, sure, of course. So underneath display and then click on window. We're changing width to 1050 pixels. We're changing height to 700 pixels. And then we're going down to the stretch section. We're changing mode to... Sorry. We're going to change mode to 2D, and we're going to change aspects to keep. All right. Are they good? All right. So once we've done both the Windows settings and we've changed the layer names and the layer names, we're also going to go to the input map. Yes. For the window, sure. Let's see on window. For width, we're going to do 1050 pixels. For height, we're going to do 700 pixels. Then we're going to go down to all the way, scroll down to the bottom. It should be stretch. We're changing mode to 2D, and then we're changing aspect to keep. Feel free to interrupt me at any point if you need something, by the way, please. Are you good? All right. So after we've done both the Windows settings and we've changed the layer names, I can real quick look at the layer names one more time, just these four. We're also going to go into our input map. On the input map tab, all of these inputs, the input map is mainly for converting like actual like keyboard inputs. So like, you know, your WASD, or if your controller, your left and right stick and your 4 buttons and your shoulder buttons. This input map will map like all sorts of different types of like those inputs into convenient names that make it easier to like make it easier in order to convert like, you know, players inputs into things that will actually happen in the code. So for example, you can see here on UI accept, which is the for like UI elements, so GUI, the interface. If you want to like move around, or if you want to like press like, if you want to confirm your like selection on the GUI, which these actions, we're probably the default actions, we're not going to use them, but we're going to create new actions. But for UI accept, you can see there are several things that are bound to accept. Enter, which is like our keyboard presses, and then space, which is of course another keyboard button. And then you can see here device 0, button 0, DualShock Cross, Xbox A, Nintendo B. That's for controllers actually. So those are you can see all of those are being bound to a single UI accept option. And then so we can say, okay, whenever we call this UI accept option from the input map, we can do this. We're going to create ourselves 4 new actions. We're going to name them up. So if you go up here next to action, this is a text box. You can type the name and then you'll click add and it'll add it. We're going to create up. We're going to create down. We're going to create left. And we're going to create right. And what I'm going to bind them to, so you can actually do this here. You see these plus marks. These will add an event that will correspond to each of these events. So we're just going to set up to the key W. So I'll show that again. So you click on the plus, and then you go down to key. You click key. Then you can press the W key, and then it will ask you to confirm or to cancel. And then once you click confirm, it should be done. I'm going to cancel this one. And then I'm going to do the same for all of these. I'm going to use WASD controls. So for down, I'll use S. For left, I will use A. And for right, I will use D. Does anyone need any help with the input mapping, or? So once that's done, we have.
I have a question, by the way.
Yes.
So what's the difference between physical key and key? Because I noticed that there is physical key there.
I believe it's because of how different keyboards work. Some keys like use an alternate layout scheme. For example, most keyboards use QWERTY, but there might be others that use Dvorak. Physical key, I think, means the actual position, but then key will be the actual letter rather than its position. I've mostly used key. Physical key might be better for like Dvorak computer compatibility, but I'm not 100% certain. I'll be honest.
Physical
Okay.
key refers to the scan code, which denotes which position the key is in, while key is the letter that gets typed out from that position.
It probably won't really matter for this workshop, at least.
Just an FYI, it's raining, by the way.
Say that again. It's raining.
Just an
Oh yeah.
FYI, it's
Yeah, we were hit with the realization.
Well, we were-
here.
Yeah. While we were walking here, the pizza was getting hit by rain. So now that we've set up our project settings, we're now going to start actually creating the scenes. So we're going to create a player scene, a coin scene, a spike ball scene, and then a level scene. And in this level scene, it will have a player, some coins and some spike balls as its children. If we have time, in a little bit, my partner Sam is going to come here and also probably help out too later. We're going to, if we have time after we're done with the primary components of the game, we're also going to create a title screen, a win screen, and a game over screen. Sam will probably handle that when she gets here in like 30 minutes. But for now, we're going to start actually creating a scene ourselves. So the first thing we're going to do, so whenever we're creating a new scene, so right now, because we just opened up the editor, we're going to see on here in the scene window that it's asking us to create the root node of this new scene that we're creating. So I'm going to go to other node, and then I'm going to search for kinematic. Sorry, I'm not used to typing on this laptop. Kinematic body 2D. Make sure to do 2D instead of kinematic body, because kinematic body without the 2D is for 3D game development, and we're going to be creating a 2D game, so we're going to go with kinematic body 2D. And then you can double click the node in the scene window in order to rename it. We're just going to rename it player. We're going to see a warning next to player when we create this node. It's telling us that it doesn't have a shape. Because this is a physics object, every single physics object in Godot will need to have a shape node attached to it that will define its hitbox basically. But because we haven't added one yet, it's going to tell us a warning. Don't worry, that's normal. We'll add one in a bit. First though, before we... Don't worry about it.
Hey, we got two going at the same time.
But before we add that shape, we're going to actually click on the player. Then you'll see, once you click on the player, that you'll start seeing a ton of properties in this inspector window that should be on default at the right side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down into the collision object 2D section. We're going to open collision. This will let us see the physics layer and the physics, like the collision layer and the collision mask properties that I mentioned earlier. You'll see when we hover over each of these numbers, you'll see this says player, which we named earlier. This will say tiles, etc., etc. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave the layer property as just number 1 is active. You can see when you click on this, it will either make it, if it wasn't activated, it'll make it active, or if it was active, it'll make it inactive when you click on it. We're going to make sure that only layer number 1, which is the player layer, is activated already. And then under the mask section, the mask section will be everything that our physics object will be able to see. We don't want it to be able to collide with itself or with other players, so we're going to disable 1. But we will want to be able to hit tiles, the coins, and the spike balls. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate all of those, make sure number 1 is disabled, but turn on 2, 3, and 4, which is the layers that we named earlier. Everyone good? After that, we're going to add the collision shape. So we're going to search for, hold on. So once you've created the root node, this plus symbol will allow you to create a child node. So this child node will be a child of the player. So we're going to create one now. We're going to search for collision shape 2D. Collision shape 2D. And then again, make sure you use the ones with the 2D suffix because the ones without the suffix are for 3D game development. So we're going to create that collider shape 2D, and we'll see that the error on the player moves off of the player onto this collision shape 2D. We haven't defined the shape that this collision shape 2D is actually going to be, so we're going to do that now. We're going to go over here back into the inspector. Under collision shape 2D, you'll see shape. And then when you click on this, you'll be able to see that you can create a new shape for each of these. You'll be able to create a new shape in order to attach to this collision shape 2D. We're going to create a rectangle shape 2D. And then once we've created that, you can click on it again and it'll open this property. You'll see once we created this shape, we'll actually be able to see the hitbox inside this editor window. Right now, by default, the rectangle shape will create an extent of 10 pixels is it pixels or units? I think it's pixels for now. It'll create it with basically 10 by 10. What we're going to do real quick is we're going to change this extent. We're going to change this number to 34 for both so that it fits with our sprite. As you can see, we're kind of rounding down from 35 to 34. That's in general it's a good practice to make your hitboxes slightly smaller than your actual sprites. Has everyone gotten the collision shape down? Yes?
Elements tab, or the extents tab under shape isn't showing up.
So once you've created the shape, you're just gonna want to click on the shape tab again, or specifically on the rectangle shape thing that says here, and it will open it or it'll close it if you've already had it open. Anyone else need help? Anyone on Discord?
I don't see anything.
All right. Once we've created our collision shape 2D, we're also going to add a sprite, and hopefully I can actually add the image properly this time. So we're adding another child using the plus tab onto. You're going to want to make sure you've selected the player. You're not going to want to make the sprite a child of the collision shape 2D. No. Okay. Well, you're going to want to make sure that this sprite is a child of the player and not a child of the collision shape 2D, just so it's all neater. So create the sprite, and then one second. We're going to go here. We open the drop-down texture and we hit load. We're going to go into assets, and then we're going to look for penguin round, which is under player. So this should be in the assets folder that we already imported into the. This should be from the assets folder that we've already imported into the project. You go under assets, you go under the player folder, and it should be the only thing in the folder. And once you open that, it'll open up the sprite. Yes?
I have a question. So, why did you make the collision shape rectangle if the sprites is circle?
Rectangles take less, processing power to render than circle colliders. Although, if you want to, you could make it a circle collider. But for this project, it's not really super necessary for it to be a circle. You can just make it a rectangle and it'll do basically the same thing. Is everyone able to load the penguin sprite onto the player? Okay. So once you've loaded up your sprite, we're going to actually go into the. Hold on. we're going to go into, I believe it's transform. We're going to go under Node 2D and we're going to go onto the transform drop-down menu. And we're going to change the size from the scale factor. We're going to scale it both horizontally and vertical to 25 and to 0.25 instead of by 1. You'll see it will shrink it if you only do 1, so you'll make sure you do both. And now you can kind of see that it sort of lines up with the collision shape, the hitbox that we made earlier. And then once we've done that, we'll also start. We'll also need to do one final thing in order to make this player scene like work properly. But before that, we're actually going to save this scene first. For now, it's fine if we just save it directly into the folder. But in more complicated projects, you're gonna want to make sure you sort your file system folder like very well so you can easily find things. I'm just gonna Control S, and then I'm going to save this as player.tscn. TSCN is, just the name for Godot's like scene files. I'm just gonna save it directly like onto like the default folder just because I'm lazy. But again, make sure you sort your folders in the future. It'll make developing like way easier. But once we've saved our scene, we're going to go to this button up in the scene window. We're going to click on this button in order to attach a new scene. If you're going to be inheriting, or if you want to use a script that already exists, you'll be able to change what path it is. And if you want, you can also create your own templates for scripts that you can define yourself. But for now, we're just going to use default. We're going to use all the default settings, and we're going to use the default path that the script window wants us to create. And we're just going to hit create, and this will open this default script. I'm just going to give you guys the codes, but I'll do my best to explain what exactly the code does. I'll do my best to explain exactly what the code does and why we're doing it that way. So first, we're going to define a couple variables. Yes? To this script scene. All right. So from here, we're going to go click on the player node in the scene window. We're going to click this button. Because I already have one attached, it's saying to detach. But you're going to want to click on this. It'll open a prompt telling you to if you want to open like a pre-existing scene or if there are any options like default templates. We're just going to use everything that it sets by default, and it'll automatically create player.gd as the script. If you're navigating through like I am, you can see at the top, you can either have the 2D view, the 3D view, or the script view. If you want to look at the script that's already attached to the player, you just click on script and it'll open the script. Anyone else need any help? All right. So once we're in this script window, we're going to start changing. We're going to start creating some variables. We can delete these default comments here.
There's a question on the chat.
Oh, yeah?
How do you attach a sprite again?
How do you attach this? Attach
The sprite.
the sprite? Okay. By I assumed you mean like the like attaching this texture to the sprite. So once you've imported the assets folder, which we attached earlier, you're going to want to go here. You're going to open this drop-down menu, and then you're going to click load. And then once you open the load menu, you'll be able to navigate into assets/player, and then you'll find the sprite here.
Okay, they meant the script.
Oh, the script. Sorry.
I'll just leave
All
my
right.
phone here.
Yeah. One more time. You know what? I'll detach the script real quick for now. So you're gonna click on the player in the node list. Then you're going to see up here in the top right corner of the scene window, attach a new script. So we're going to just use the default. We're just going to use the default. I already created one, but if you haven't created the script yet, it should tell you that it'll create a new one. This will load the existing script file that I made earlier. So once we're in the script window, first we're going to make a couple of member variables here on this section. We can delete these comments, which are default, default. It comes with this default template that for every new script, it'll have something like this. But so we're going to create two variables here. We're going to create an export, a variant, speed, and then set its default value to 70. So this is going to be the speed that the player is actually moving at when we are sliding on the ice. And you'll see that when you if you press save here, you'll actually notice when you click on player, it'll see in script variables, you'll actually be able to see the speed variable, and you can edit it here. So if you want to make your player fast, you can change it from the default value. So we can change it to 140. For now, we'll just leave it at 70. And we're also going to create a not export, but we're just going to create a variant. We'll name it velocity, and we'll set it to a new vector2, which is we'll set it by default at 0, 0, which this is going to be. If you've taken physics before, this is going to be a vector in the direction of the player's current velocity, because we're going to be moving at a constant velocity, so we'll just set this vector properly when we'll set this, sorry, apologies. We'll set this, our player to move at the velocity specified here in order to get it to move. Actually, sorry, we're not tracking it as a vector, we're tracking it as like an XY position rather than as an actual, as a coordinates rather than as a vector. But so we're also going to uncomment this function process here. What's happening is that every single frame, the process function is being called once. This would be the game loop for those of you who have seen a little bit. But every single object will have its process function called once every single time frame that is running. So each of these will be running like several times, like a second. We're going to start by erasing the pass keyword. The pass keyword just makes it so the function doesn't actually do anything, but it's nice as a temporary in order to keep errors like this from showing up. But so first we're going to start with an if statement. If the velocity double equals vector2 dot 0, 0, then I'll just write this real quick. So the reason we're sorry, vector2. So the reason we're using this condition is we only want the player to be able to move when we're at a standstill, because we're making this ice puzzle game. So we'll only be able to input any movement or change the movement when we're at a complete standstill. So once we've done that, we're going to actually start handling player input. So the way you do that is you're gonna look for you're gonna type inputs dot is underscore action pressed up, and then so this function will ask the input map if the up dialog that we created earlier when we were messing with the input map. This will ask us if that input is currently being pressed. And then once we do that, we'll do velocity equals vector2 0 comma negative speed. Oops. Vector2. Is my 2 key not working? In any case. So this will set it to, the thing about game engines is that typically a negative x is upwards and positive x is downwards. So make sure to keep that in mind.
There's nothing new.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So by doing this, we're changing the y to be a negative value which will be upwards. It's a little counterintuitive at first, but you get used to it eventually.
Waiting. Font size, do you know?
For here? I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Control plus? Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
So once we've done that, we're actually going to do this 3 other times for each of the other directions. So I'll do that real quick. Once again, if you remember, we defined each of these in when we were first starting out in the project settings. So each of these inputs is we've already like mapped these inputs to like our keys. And as you can see, because we're using GDScript, you can kind of see, instead of using any like brackets like you might use for C# if programming for Unity, or even if you're coding in Java, instead of having like brackets, you can see that we're using tabs in order to like modify our control flow statements. Does anyone need any help, or everyone good? Okay. So now we're going to want to exit out of our if statement here, if velocity equals vector 2. So we just hit backspace twice, and now this should be in line with this original tab. And we're going to type one more line, velocity equals move and slide, and then velocity vector 2 dot up. This is in GDScript, which is very similar to Python, although it has some slight differences.
So those of you who are like either new to Python or new to programming in general, this is usually you don't have to worry about the spacing so much, but since it's under Python or GDScript, the spacing matters because you don't have those brackets to tell you like if it's closing the line or not.
Yeah. So what this line is doing is it's using a built-in function attached to the kinematic body 2D type. Move and slide will take in a vector and it will move itself using this vector as its velocity. This second argument, vector 2.up, is an optional way for you to specify which direction is up. And because gravity works as normal in our game, actually we don't even have gravity, so it's unnecessary. But we can just define up as being vector 2.up, which is I believe it's a static constant attached to the vector 2 class. But in any case, once we've done this, we've basically actually already finished our player movement. We just need to create the rest of the level. If you press F6, you'll be able to test your scene. It'll open it up. Of course, because this is only like our player, you won't be able to see anything. But if you input the direction right, you'll actually see that the sprite will start to move. And then if you input any other directions, you won't be able to stop it because, as we mentioned earlier, we're like doing like a nice slide puzzle. So we'll only be able to like input another movement when we get stopped, when we run into like the edges of the tile map. So because of that, while you're testing, it should only move in one direction infinitely and you won't be able to change it. And if that's working, then that's actually a good thing. Does anyone need any help with the player scene at all?
Is it the same?
Say that again.
The same
You have the FN key. It should be FN S6 if your laptop uses that.
Then there's a question in the back.
Sorry. I can check.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think right, but it still doesn't move.
It still doesn't move.
I believe he can. Oh yeah. I don't think like currency, I believe it's play scene will. I believe play scene should be currency. Yeah. As well. Wait. No. Yes. Hey, can you scroll down?
Scroll down, sure.
Thank you.
Wait, what is that?
What do you do
For Mac? So Command R, yeah. But for everyone, you'll also see it at the top right of the screen. You'll see this little thing here. It'll say play scene. On Windows, it's F6. Command R for Macs. You can also just click this button at the top right in order to test out the scene and see if it works.
I have a question about it.
Yes?
Yeah, I just want to see the end of the script. I didn't get that last line.
Sure. 1 second.
We're not using these in this station. Just the word up and then down. Down, you would left, right? Yeah. You will see one else. You can use just and then and then you'll go with ASC. And then after that, it should work. Anyone else need any assistance at all? Anything here? Supposed to be attached to the this is like 22 because I think you can get to the default option. That's create 2D, create 3D. We're actually, I did want to create this. So if you right click, you can move on, make roots, where you can get see. And then just, you should remove the node 2D. Just remove that. Yeah. That's the means we have to you can get rid of it by pressing underscore, like naming Donut underscore Delta instead. If you press that's it. You have to
Yeah.
While we're busy debugging, if you guys still want some pizza or anything, feel free to take some. Survival change. Genetics.
Once you're done, you're gonna want to have it from this, and you're gonna want to. And fix it. No.
Anybody else?
How do you like run it to see if it's going
Are you on Mac or
Windows?
it should be FNF6?
Might be something stopping it.
What is it? You have it, press it down, then press F6. Oh, you'll have to save it, so make sure to save here.
Yeah. Okay. Shit. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Get close.
Oh,
Hello. Oh, I'm gonna mess it up. You go to project settings. Scroll down to the bottom. You didn't bind me. Didn't? Oh, you hit the button. W. Okay.
okay. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Solomon. Aside from that, a couple of big things that I've noticed. First of all, when we were in the project settings doing the input map, a couple of the people whose things weren't working, I noticed that they were using physical key instead of just key on the input map here. So if you change it from physical key to just the regular key, it should work. It makes sense why some devices are, a bit finicky about it. So just using key will probably make it more consistent. Besides that, one other thing I noticed a lot of people doing, I'll create a temporary scene. You don't need to do this. But so the way I saw them do it is they created, when they're in the create root node, instead of choosing other node and then going to kinematic body 2D, they clicked this 2D scene right here. They clicked this and it created their root node as a scene 2D. And then they used the plus sign to add the kinematic body here. You actually didn't want to do this. You wanted to make it so that the root node is this kinematic body, because this player scene is actually going to be you're going to be adding it to the level scene as a child later on. So what's it called? By doing this, it adds this extra node 2D, which isn't very useful. So just as an illustrative example, I'm going to add the sprite.
I guess I did.
I'm going to add the collision. So if you're like this, you're going to want to reparent this kinematic body 2D. So what you're going to want to do is make sure first that the sprite and the collision shape, both of them are children of kinematic body 2D rather than children of node 2D. Then you're going to right click on the kinematic body, and then you're going to click make scene root, and that should make this the new, this should trade these two's position. Then what you want to do is just delete this node 2D. So if your scene tree looks like this, then we're good to go. Is everyone good? All right. So make sure you save your player scene and made sure that it works. But once it works, we're actually basically done with the player scene, and we'll just need to create the other sections of the game in order to actually make the game functional, since a lot of the functionality will be actually placed in other parts of the game. So now that we're done with the player, we're going to click this plus sign here, or you can do new scene. Either of these works, if I'm not mistaken. So once we're making this new scene, we're going to go to other node again. Make sure you click other node instead of clicking 2D scene. And we're going to go to area 2D. We're going to make this an area 2D. We're going to name this coin. And then we're going to save the scene as coin.tfcn. So this time, again, this is an area 2D. Again, make sure you don't use area 2D instead. And like earlier with the player, it'll give us the warning about the shape. It will give us the warning about the shape, which we can actually fix. But first, let me just make sure. Okay, yeah. So the only thing we're going to do on coin is we're going to do the same thing where we go to collision. This is a coin, so we're going to deactivate player. We're going to go for coin. We're going to activate it, and we're going to make sure it can collide with the player by turning on mask. Wait, let's see. Sorry. Yeah. So make sure this its active layer is coin and its mask is player. And then once we've done that, we'll add its collision. Let me see, what collision is this? Okay. So we're going to add, as a child of this area 2D, we're going to add another collision shape 2D. Make sure you use 2D again. And then, like we did with the rectangle earlier, we're actually going to make this one a circle just for illustrative purposes. And instead of setting its extents, we can set its radius. So we're gonna set its radius to 21 units. Everyone good?
Wait, so how did you get the coin scene created in the first place?
Okay, so first, so when we're on the player, we can either go into the scene menu and then hit new scene, or you can hit this plus sign like a new tab that's over on the right side of the player tab, and it should make an empty scene. And from this empty scene, we're gonna start the work all over again.
Is it just a 2D scene? Is that it?
No,
Or is
so
it-
you're going to use, you're going to go to other node, and then you're going to search for area 2D. Anyone else need any help? Or we all good so far? Okay. So once we have its collision shape, this time we're actually going to add an animated sprite instead of just a regular sprite. We're gonna add as a child. Make sure you're adding this as a child of coin instead of as a child of collision shape 2D. Search for animated sprite. This time instead of like a single sprite, we're just gonna have the coin sprite be animated all the time. We already have the animation frames in the assets file you downloaded earlier. So what we're going to do is going to go into frames. We're gonna click the drop-down menu and we're gonna create new sprite frames. Then once you click on new sprite frames, it'll open up this menu here. Everyone able to get to this menu all right? Yes. The circle. So okay. So once you're going to add as a child of the area 2D that you made, you're going to add a collision shape 2D. Then we're going to go into the inspector. We're going to go to shape. We're going to create a new circle shape, and then once you've done that, you can click on this circle shape, and then it'll let you change the radius, which we're going to set to 21. Is that not here yet?
It's just on the way.
Okay.
She'll be here in like 20-ish.
All right. So we're going to next. We're going to edit the animated sprite. So you go to the animated sprite. You go to frames. You click on the sprite frame, and then once you do that, it should open this animations. You'll see that it's a new tab on this bottom. You can click through output, debugger, audio, animation, sprite frames. Once you click on it, you'll be able to see this. So you're going to click on sprite frames here in order to open this menu. And then we're going to select default, and then we're going to open our assets folder. We're going to look for items, and you'll see gold 1 through 4, if I'm not mistaken, right? So we're going to take gold 1 through 4. We're going to just drag them straight into this animation frame section. And then you'll see if I believe we also want it playing on animated sprite. We're just going to click this on, and we'll see that the sprite starts turning. If you want to make it so that the sprite like keeps turning, I believe what you're going to do is you're going to copy this, and then paste it. Or is it? Let's see. Yeah, you're going to copy, and then you're going to just paste it, and then it'll go back to the end. And then you can copy and then paste it, and it should just go to the end again. And that should make the coin animate more smoothly, and it'll look like this. So remember, you'll have to go into the inspector menu and click playing and then turn it on if you want to see the sprite move. Is everyone able to get this all right? Do it again? Yes, sure. Sorry, say that one more time. Separate from the player and the coin. So at the top of the thing here, once you're on the player scene, you can click this plus menu in order to start creating a new scene, or you can go into the scene menu and you can click new scene. But anyways, so you needed me to do the coin, to show you how to do the coin again, the sprite. Sure. I'll make a new one. Let me delete this. So let's create the animated sprite. Then we'll go over into the inspector. You'll look for underneath the animated sprite section, look for frames. You'll click this drop-down menu, and then you'll click on new sprite frames. Then once you click on sprite frames again, it should open here at the bottom the sprite frames prompt. So you'll see default. As long as you have it selected, we should be good. In the future, if you need to make other animations though, you can add new ones, but for now we only need the default animations, so we'll use it. So we're going to go into the assets folder, like in our file system. We're going to open the assets folder, then open the items folder, and we'll see gold 1 through 4. What we're going to do is we're going to select gold 1 through 4, and we're just going to drag it into the animation frames. Then once you do that, we're going to copy and then paste frame 2 again at the end. And then we're going to copy and paste frame 1 at the end. And then once we go back into animated sprite and we click playing, which we should leave on, it should play the spinning animation properly. Maybe. I think this is the right order. I hope it is.
Gives off the illusion either way. So
Okay.
yeah.
Once.
Oh, there's a question.
Yes.
I added like the extra coins to make it smoother, but it still goes from like just frame 0 to 3 instead of like 0 to 5.
Did you do the same thing where I just copied and pasted it, or?
Yeah.
Did you create an?
Is there a way to like get out of the script view and into the scene view?
Yeah, at the top of the screen in the center, you'll see 2D, 3D, script, and asset lib. Just click on 2D and it'll go back to the scene view. Once you've done this, if you Is anyone else able to get the animated sprite working? It's probably fine. It's not strictly necessary. You can just leave it choppy if worst comes to worst. But I didn't notice that on some of it, it wasn't rendering the 1 through 5 properly, but it still looked right. So I mean, it works. It works. Then again, it might just be my eyesight being bad, but in any case, that step isn't strictly necessary to get the game working, but. If you need to, you can watch the YouTube video later to see it there. Is everyone else good with the animated sprite? Okay. So the last thing we're going to add to this coin is we're going to add an animation player. This might be a bit complicated, but we're going to add an animation player node. So the way that animation player nodes is it works through keyframes where it'll smoothly animate not only actual like sprite animations, but it'll also animate oh, I just noticed. Wait, sorry, real quick. We're going to want to scale down the animated sprite. We're going to go onto the inspector. We're going to go onto the node 2D section. We're going to open the transform menu. We're going to scale this down to 0.5. Sorry, I completely forgot to do this. So that should make it line up more accurately with their collision shape 2D. But then we're also going to, like I said earlier, we're going to add another child to the coin. We're going to add animation player. And then this animation player is going to be used to use keyframes in order to animate not only like the actual sprite, but you can actually modulate, or you can actually animate properties of like the number properties rather than just any like, what's the term? Aside from any like sprite animation. For example, if you look on the animated sprite, you might see this canvas item visibility modulate. You don't need to do this, but as you can see, if I drag this A value down, it will make the sprite disappear. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to, when this coin gets collected, we're going to use this animation player to make it so the sprite fades out. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the animation player, and you'll see at the bottom this new animation tab. So we're going to go to animation button at the top of the animation tab, new. We're going to name it collect. And this should create a new animation. Then we're going to click on the key that appears next to the position module. Wait, sorry, 1 second. Which one? Here. Wait, no, here. Damn it, where's Sam? It's okay. This is for making it so that we are kind of short on time. We can actually just make it so the coin gets destroyed. We can just skip the animation player step since we are kind of strapped for time. Sorry, never mind about the animation player. If you have it, just delete it. We're going to also add a timer. Actually, should we? Yeah, okay. So we're going to add a timer node. This timer, no, we actually don't need to change any properties about it. We can just leave it as a timer. And then we can also add an audio stream player. Make sure you, this time, do not use the 2D. These 2D and 3D ones are for positional playback. We're going to use audio stream player. This is non-positional, so no matter where like your character is in the world, you will always hear the same sound. So you're going to want to click on audio stream player. You're going to add it. Then we're going to go to the stream on this audio stream player. Under audio stream player, go stream, and then you're going to open this, and then you can actually just hit load. Under the assets folder, we have in sounds, we should have coin collect. This shouldn't have like these playing. Do not set autoplay to true. What we're going to do is we're going to trigger this audio stream player in the code when the coin gets collected. And then we're going to go back into scripts. Nice. So we're going to create a new script here. Oh shit, sorry. So you're going to make sure you've clicked, before you create the new script, make sure you click on the root. You're going to click on the area 2D. It should be named coin. And you're going to just create a new script on it. We only need one member variable. This is going to be signal collected. So this is going to be our first usage of a signal. We're going to make it so that the level manager actually listens for the collected signal on each of these coins. So when the signal is emitted, it'll increment the counter. But we actually don't need the process or the ready functions. So we're actually going to go, if you click on coin, you'll see it'll open the properties in the inspector. But you'll also notice that next to inspector, there's another tab called node. And you can see, once you click on the node tab from the inspector tab, you can see the signals. And you'll actually be able to see, you'll see that we have our signal collected that we created earlier, but you'll also see a lot of the default signals. And we're actually going to use one of these default signals. We're going to use body entered. If you double click it, it will actually ask you to connect a signal to a method. By default, it should add it to this new script that we're creating, and it should say that the receiver method is underscore on coin body entered. And we're just going to use that function, so we're going to connect. Okay, so once we've created our script, we can click on coin in the scene tree, and it should open up on the right side the inspector. Then you can see right next to the inspector is the node window, and once you click on that, you'll be able to see all the signals. You're going to double click on body entered, which is a default signal issued by the area 2D node. So once you double click it, it should ask you to connect. And you're just going to connect it to the default method that should say on coin body entered. And once it does that, it'll hopefully add the function into the script automatically. Once it does this, you're going to do just a couple things. You're going to do call the function emit signal, and then you're going to emit the signal collected. So what this will do is just make it so this signal starts. And any other codes that are listening, when this signal gets called, they'll listen and they'll hear, oh, the coin has been collected, and we'll connect the level scene to it. We're also going to play our audio stream player. So what we're going to do is type $. This is a shortcut for the function get node, but it's you can also just use you can do this just because it's faster. We're going to select our audio stream player, and then we're going to call its function play. So what will happen is when this coin makes contact with the player, it'll play this sound. So if you've been messing around earlier with the audio stream player, you click on play, it does that. Don't do that. So what this is going to do is that is going to automatically play this. Oh, I think I forgot. Is this? Oh, it's not. Okay, never mind. Sorry, we're good. Let me think. Right. So this code will simply cause our sound thing to play the noise that we told it to make. So it'll play that sound. And then we're going to hit set collision mask bit 0 to false. Wait, is that right? I think this is right, but or it should be 1. Oh no, it should be 0. I'm pretty sure because this should just be bit 0 anyways, right? Yeah. So what this will do is it'll just make it so it can't make contact with the player anymore, which is so it doesn't like spam the on coin body entered function. And then we're going to actually start the timer. So timer.start. By default, this timer will last 1 second, and we didn't change any settings about it. So we're just going to make it so that this timer starts once, and it will wait 1 second and then time out after 1 second when we hit this. The main reason we're doing this is just so that the audio stream player can play, because the audio stream player is a child of coin, and because we want to destroy the coin after we've collected it, we're going to wait for a second for the sound to play, and then we're going to delete the coin. And then the way we'll delete the coin, so we're going to use another signal. First, click on the timer node, then we're going, or then in the scene window, then we're going to click on node, and then we're going to click timeout. This is the signal that fires when this timer runs out of time, which will be after 1 second because that's the default, and we didn't change any of the timer's parameters. And then, very simply, once the timer times out, we'll type Q free. And that should just make it so that this coin deletes after a second you touch it. After a second after you touch it. And once you do that, the coin script is basically done, actually. Is Sam not arriving soon?
What? I'm still on her way. I think she's still driving.
We're 20 minutes away from 5 p.m. Sorry, we're a bit slow.
You're doing great.
All right. So, has everyone managed to get the script? Have they set up the signals properly? Okay, everyone seems good. So once your signals are connected, this coin should function as intended. And then what we're going to do, instead of connecting one of these functions to this collected signal, we're actually going to have one of our we're going to have our level scene manager. We're going to have it listen for this signal later. But for now, we don't really need to worry about it. So we're going to create a third scene. We're going to create the spike ball scene. So this is actually going to be another area 2D. It works very simple. It's going to work kind of similar to the coin, but instead of collecting the coin, it's going to just make it so that the level restarts. So I'm going to add an area 2D. So once again, this is a new scene. We're going to be making a third scene. We're going to rename this spike ball, and then we're going to save it as the spikeball.tscn. And now we'll have a third scene. We're going to do basically the same thing we did with the coin a lot of the time. We're going to go in the inspector tab. We're going to go in collision. We're going to make this a spike ball, which should be layer 4. Make sure you turn off layer 1 because it is layer 1 by default. And if I'm not mistaken, it should only be able to collide with the player. See. Then once we've set up the area 2D, we're going to do the same thing where we add a shape. We're going to add a collision shape 2D. I think this is a circle again. Let me just check.
What is the spike ball again?
This spike ball is going to be an obstacle so that if you touch it, you die.
Oh, no, but what node is it?
Oh, what node is it? Spike ball is an area 2D. It's the same as the coin. This is some code. Sorry. So on this collision shape, we are going to make it a circle shape 2D like last time. And we're going to make its radius 70. Then we're going to add an animated sprite like last time with the coin. We're going to new sprite frames. We're going to go into the animation section. Then you'll see spike ball 1 and spike ball 2. Those are the only two we need. And thankfully, it infinitely loops on itself. So once you set this to playing, click on it, go to animated sprite, go into playing, click on, and you'll just see that it already is animated properly. You're also going to, you're also going to want to change the FPS to be faster. You're going to change the FPS in this animation window to be 8. It'll move a bit faster and it'll look a bit more proper. Yeah. And then once we've done this, we're going to once again add a script. Make sure you save, but then I'm going to add a new script on Spikeball. Again, just all the default parameters. Just make sure the script is attached to Spikeball rather than any of the component nodes. Then this is going to be very simple. We're only going to be connecting one signal. Once you've created this new script, we're going to go back to Spikeball, click on node, and we're going to do body entered again. Do you wanna take over? Would you like to take over?
Let's go ahead.
So we're just working on the Spikeball script to change it. I think we don't really have time to make the, what are they called, the game over screen. So we're just gonna make it like reload the level, right? If you
Yeah. So the original workshop never had us do that anyway. So it's good.
Have fun.
What am I doing?
You're
Hold on,
explaining
I
the
just
script.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Hold on. Take over from you.
Sure. Okay, so once we've connected the on Spikeball body function, once we've connected that signal from Spikeball to the code, we're just going to do get tree dot. This is a function that gets the tree. Then we're going to call on the tree scene. Is it change scene? Oh, it is. We're gonna change scene. Yeah. Change scene. Then we're going to do res slash. We're actually going to tell this to do a scene that we haven't created yet. So we're actually going to tell it to do level.tscn. We are going to create this in a moment once we're done with the Spikeball. But what this will do is it'll make the level reload from scratch.
Yeah.
So you want to do the level?
Yes. All right. So, hello. It is I, Sam. Don't mind my uniform. I just got off of work. So, now that we sort of have all of these assets prepared, we have your player, we have your coin, we have your Spikeball. It's time for us to basically put that all together into our level scene. So, we don't have it up right. So,
Yeah, we haven't made it yet.
So, we can go ahead and create a new tab right here, which adds a new scene. And then right here at the top, just go ahead. Well, you could also just do it as a 2D sim, which is one of the ones that's already loaded up right here. So now we have this like no 2D screen scene. And then if we sort of go back to the 2D tab, basically it's just like an empty brand new scene for us. So before we do anything, I'm just going to go ahead and rename this level. I don't know how to spell, apparently. So level or whatever you named it to, as long as it's similar to whatever you named it down here, which was indeed level. Except this one needs to be uppercase. All right. So now whenever you make in contact with the spike body sort of collision area, that's sort of like a game over state. Instead, it's just going to reload the tree and access sort of the level. So we have an empty level right here. And then we are going to start inputting a few different nodes. So the very first node is very important for sort of like laying the groundwork for your level. So we are going to get a tile map node. So when you go, I don't know how to spell. So when you import a new scene or new node, just go ahead and type tile map. It's going to be under node 2D and it's just going to be called tile map. Go ahead and double click to add it onto your scene right there. So for any of you guys who are really familiar with like the RPG Maker or sort of any like JRPG based game engine, laying down tiles is sort of similar. If you've worked with like kind of like pixel art, essentially, basically, we will set up a grid. If you can see, it's like really light. You can see it on your screens too. There's like some grid lines on your screen that basically tells you where the tiles will be aligned. So have you been doing like the nodes one by one, or have you been like working on a node and then like do all the stuff for that node and then the next node?
Just doing all the nodes and then.
All the nodes? Okay.
So they all should be finished.
Okay. All right. So next we're going to go ahead and add an instance of our player node. So in order to add, so the player scene is a scene that we created. In order to add that to our level scene as a node is to essentially click this chain right here. So that's instance a child scene. When you click on that chain, it's going to ask you, okay, which of these nodes do we want to add on? For now, we're going to add on our player, and we're going to add this for like our coin and for our spike ball as well. Open, and now you have sort of your player on that level right there. So whenever you play this level, you have the player right there. You can go ahead and access that whenever. Next, we're going to add a 2D node. So the really cool thing about 2D nodes is that, or the node called node 2D, is it holds all of the 2D nodes. So if I were to like back up here, and if I were to go to node 2D, sort of do the drop down, all of these nodes that we've come into contact so far are all under that node 2D. So a useful thing that you could do with node 2D is you could sort of like have it as like a folder. So we'll basically instance another child node of node 2D, and we can go ahead and rename that coins. Coins. So basically, this node 2D is going to contain childs of other coins. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did earlier. So sort of hovering over that coin node 2D, we'll go ahead and do the instance of a child, and we could go ahead and add a coin. For now, we're going to work on just like one coin for now. And then if you guys want to keep working on this ice game on your own, you could add more coins, add more spike balls, add more sort of complexity to your level. Right now, we're just sort of working on those basics. We're going to do the same thing again, except we're going to do it for the spike ball. So come here to node, add in a node 2D, and then go ahead and call this spike balls. And then same thing, we're going to hit that chain right there, instance the child scene. We're going to go ahead and add that spike ball.tscn. So now we have a spike ball there. Everyone good so far? So right now, this is sort of how it looks in terms of the node tree that we're working with.
What are the nodes again? The player node and the coin.
The player node, so this player, are you talking about like their parent node, like the scene, or? So the player node right here, its main scene, it's going to be a kinematic body 2D, which is the node that handles movement. And then the coin and the spike ball are both area 2D. So they're not necessarily items. It's just we assign them a sprite that makes it look like an item, when really it's just an area that the player can interact with.
We're not actually like creating like a new kinematic body or creating like a new area. What we're doing is we're adding the scenes we created earlier, because we already did the programming and all the setup with the sprites and stuff. So we're actually just going to add those directly into the level using she mentioned how to do the new child scene.
Yeah, so if you didn't hear that, and for Discord, we are not making a new player scene. We are just adding an instance of that scene into this new scene for the level. Okay, the next thing we're going to add is we're going to add a canvas layer. So a canvas layer, yes, was there a question? Yes.
So I made like the spike ball, and I can see it in this tab of spike ball. When I go into like the new level that we're making, it says that like the error that it gives me is like the node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with the block.
So this is sort of the spike ball. Do you have your collision shape 2D sort of program to have that circle shape right there?
Yes.
Interesting. Do you want to go walk over and like check that out? Thank you. What ended up happening? Forgot to save. Yeah. So
the number one problem we all run into.
yeah, that's why I've gone to such a habit to like save.
Randomly press Control S. It helps a lot.
Every time something happens, just randomly hit Control S. Sometimes it'll fix like a lot of stuff. All right. So we have this tree right here. So these are all sort of, except for the tile map, these are all nodes that we've worked with previously. The next node we're going to add is we're going to add a canvas layer. So what a canvas layer is it's basically a node that handles basically text, your HUD, or your UI. That's basically what we would be using to sort of tell the player how many coins have you collected, if you're winning. We won't do it in this one, but you can also put like how many lives, if there's like a score that you have. That's sort of what the HUD is used for. So sort of clicking back onto that level node, so we could go ahead and access that node. We're going to go ahead and search up canvas layer, and it's going to be this one right here. So we could just add that on. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and name this HUD, because that's going to be basically displaying the amount of coins that we have. Let's see here. Okay. So this canvas layer is going to hold a few things. It's going to hold a lot of things, actually. It's going to hold, so sort of selecting that HUD right there. Excuse me. We're going to go ahead and add a panel. So what a panel is, it's basically just going to draw like a rectangle, or it's basically essentially, I have it written here. So panels display like an opaque background that's useful as a parent or a container for other control nodes. So if you notice, everything in Godot in terms of nodes are color coded. So anything that's blue is a 2D node, and I believe anything that's red should be a 3D node, and then anything that's like this whitish or this grayish is going to be a control node. So the control nodes are basically what handles like your HUD, like what I was saying earlier, your HUD, your score, all of that extra stuff that doesn't necessarily have to do with like the physical components of the game. So we can go ahead and add this panel. So this panel is just going to be essentially a container for us.
You want to make sure it's a child of the
HUD.
Yeah. Of the HUD, because the reason we use the canvas layer is to like separate it from like camera movement. So if you see in your video games, normally you have like your like GUI, your heads up display, your HUD that stays on the screen and it doesn't move even when your camera moves. This canvas layer is going to make it decouple from camera movement. We're not actually using a camera in this game.
Yeah.
It's still a good habit to have.
So essentially, what the canvas layer does is whenever your player moves, your heads up display or your HUD is going to follow your player no matter where the camera is. It's basically like an overlay if you want to think of it that way. So there's that panel. We're going to add a texture. The next thing we're going to add is we're going to add a texture rect, which is this one right here. Let me take a look. So what the texture rect is we're not gonna like mess, we'll mess with like what that's gonna look like in a little bit. But what the texture rect is, it's basically, it's used to like draw icons and sprite in a user interface. So what we're gonna be using this for is we're just gonna display the coin icon that you guys should have up there. So you could use that to like display hearts. You could use it to display what's something else, like an image, like what kind of items you have. That's sort of what the texture rect is used for. Huh? Oh, mana, things like that. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay, and then we're gonna add 2 nodes. I keep using the mouse for the other computer. The next 2 nodes we're gonna add a 2 labels. Labels, they do exactly what it says. It's just basically like a text box. And those text boxes, we can hook them up with code to display a specific kind of text. We're actually going to label these because they are going to be 2 different labels. So this first one, you're going to just call it X. So to sort of describe, we don't have markers, huh? To sort of describe what it is, do you have the original game pulled up? So I could just show real quick what it would look like.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, the original game pulled up.
The original game? It's not, but I should have the folder to reopen Godot. It should be open.
Oh, I was just gonna show like the sort of finish, so I could just like show people like what.
Oh, I don't have. You might have to. I have it on Godot, so I believe if you just backspace, eventually it'll open.
Yeah.
Do that, and then it should be this one.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you. Have you showed this to them yet?
I did.
Okay. So I'll just show you what that kind of looks like. So this is the finished product that we made. That Unfortunately, we won't be able to get into how to make the title screen and the end screen and the win screen. If you want to, I was thinking earlier, I could make a really short video about how to do all of this stuff if you guys are interested. But real quick, this right here. That's what we're making. So, I'm not so short. So, sort of that blue rectangle that you see right there is there stick? This blue rectangle is gonna be that, what's it called?
Panel.
The panel, yes. So that blue rectangle is gonna be that panel. This icon right here is gonna be that texture I could just put in, and then the X, and that 0 is gonna be those two labels we just put. Now, the reason why we have two different labels is because this is sort of like static. Obviously, that X is never gonna change, right? But when you implement things like gathering more coins and you want your player to know how many coins you have, this is what's going to change, which is why we separate these two. So this will stay the same. This will have some code implemented into it so that it can tell the player basically how many coins they have. All right. Close out of that. That's the Penguin Ice game. Whoops. All right. So, and then on label 2, we could go ahead and put that as, I think we just set it to coins again. Coins, lowercase. Okay. Any questions so far? So again, we haven't like gone into like the nitty gritty of like all of like the code or everything like that, or any of like the settings, but this is sort of right here is the tree that we're working with. Does everyone's tree sort of look like this? It's okay if you name it different things depending on like how you like to name your assets or any of your nodes or anything like that, but that's going to be the basic tree setup for the level. So the level scene most of the time is going to be pretty involved. That's because you're going to have a lot of stuff. So if you have like a lot of interactables, you're going to have like a ton of like, if you have boxes in your game. That's why these node TVs are super helpful because you can like collapse them. So if you don't want to see that you have like 10 billion boxes on the level, you can just collapse it and you can just like basically simplify this area so you can see all of your other nodes, not including that one, which is why the node TV is pretty useful to use like as like a folder. Were you raising your hand or you're just stretching? Okay, for sure. All right, so let's get to the fun stuff. So let's go to the tile map. So go ahead and select tile map right there. So sort of similar to what you guys were doing earlier with your physics layers, we're going to go ahead and go to collision. And then we're going to go and set the collision layer of tiles to true, which I think should be this one. This is just letting good, yeah. So you have to turn the player off because we aren't working with the player node. This is just basically an identifier letting Godot know that, hey, this is the tiles layer.
Unlike the other physics objects we had earlier, because this one doesn't really need to know what the other things are doing, we are only telling this what it is, so there's no like collision mask. So you only need to tell this Godot that, oh, these are the tiles.
Mm-hmm. And then you could go ahead and just keep that mask the same, because like what they were saying earlier, it doesn't really interact with anything. It's just sort of like a background for our, well, it does kind of, it does interact with the player specifically, which is why we keep that one on there. Okay, so on this side right here in your inspector, whoops, when you hit the drop down menu next to tile set, go ahead and click new tile set. So we're basically going to create a new tile set for this node. Did I click it?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought. There we go. So when you hit new tile set, it's going to basically create a new tile set like folder, like place to like keep all your assets. So go ahead and click on that. Whoops. Click on that, and now there should be like a new bar that pops up right here. Everyone have that bar pop up? Okay, great. So now we're going to go to our assets folder. We're going to go navigate to our tiles. We're going to go ahead and import the ice and the snow PNG into there. Really simple. You just basically drag and drop the ice PNG to this sort of dark blue set, and it should just like import. Very simple. Get both of them in there. All right. So the setting these both up are going to be very similar. So go ahead and click on the ice PNG.
It's 5, so we're.
Oh, okay.
We do have the. No one else comes in after us, right? So.
We do have the room, yeah.
Yeah, so we are able to stay for a bit longer.
Mhm.
But it is 5, which is the end of the time slot we are intending to do. I just want to say really quick, if you've been following along, everyone who's been having trouble, this is like already, this tutorial has been like, our workshop has been very condensed, and we did just drop like a lot of information about you, especially if this is your first interaction with like a game engine. This is a lot of information for you. So the fact that all of you are struggling through it and that you are all making, if you're able to get something to appear, then that's good.
That's pretty good.
When we first started, we were like you, we were struggling through. We weren't as used. You can see that we go pretty fast through because we've gotten used to it. But for you guys, this is your first interaction with it. So if you're having trouble, that's perfectly fine. But I hope that by following along with us, you've like, at the very least, you've been able to start familiarizing with yourself with how game engines work and how their layouts flow. Will we be able to like continue for a bit more, right?
Yeah. So if you guys you guys are more than welcome to stay till the end of the workshop till we finish setting up this level. But if you guys have to be somewhere, like we totally understand it's like a Friday. It's like pretty rainy outside, it's hot. Like we understand if you guys need to leave because we did say this was gonna be from 3 to 5, but if you guys want to stay to like listen to the end of the workshop, you guys are more than welcome.
Yeah. And for those of you who've been here, thank you so much for coming. This is our first workshop back in person in like 3 years.
3 years.
So we're sort of figuring out the pacing and everything.
This is also your first workshop?
Yeah. So for some of us, this is our first in-person workshop. We'll be back next week for Unity, and we'll definitely take some notes of what we've learned from this workshop and sort of work on the pacing and make sure we sort of finish the tutorial by it.
Real quick, if you guys were here, we are going to send out a sign-up sheet for the workshop, similar to how we do our meetings. And then I just wanted to like give a quick reference. If you guys are interested in learning more about Godot, there's a really good tutorial up by Born CG. If you just look up making a 2D platformer on Godot, that's the one that I did, and it was really comprehensive and it was really good. He like explains what all of the nodes do. It's just like a really good tutorial overall.
Other than that, there's also the making your first game tutorial that's within the actual documentation for Godot docs. That's how I after watching Sam's 2 years ago tutorial, I also went through and did that one, and that one also is like a surprisingly good entry into like Godot as well. So there are a lot of resources online if you want to learn more and you're not able to now.
Yeah.
But if you're able to stay, Sam will continue.
Yeah.
And I might be.
Yeah, I sent the sign-in form in the announcement, so if you guys please fill that out so we can take your time, that'd be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just take a quick break right now for anyone who needs to go somewhere before we sort of like get into like the nitty-gritty of like the level, because there is a lot of stuff that we have to go through here.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
The rest of this stuff will be recorded, right?
Yes.
We will, yeah.
Okay.
It is currently recording.
We'll just cut this out.
Thank you for coming, everyone.
Thank you. I feel so powerful with this stick.
Please do not beat it unless.
Unless?
Thank you for coming.
It's okay. How was it before I got here?
It was going good. I think like the biggest problem is like the princess is the only one who knew how to use Godot like really well. So I tried to go around and help, but I didn't really know much.
Okay, yeah.
I think for the Unity one, we should be more prepared for that one.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, that should be good. Yeah, I like drove. As soon as I was doing fine, like scootering over here. And then as soon as I got to this hill right before building 6, I was like, I can't brake because I was like trying to press on my brake. It was like, it's not stopping because it's like slippery. Have a good day. Because it was like slippery. It was like, fuck. So then I tried to like stop with my foot and then I like fell. So like my knees are kind of wet.
oh,
It's okay though. I'm fine. I broke my fall. I know how to break my fall. I fall so many times. Okay.
I don't know how to.
Your license is expired for a fast-free antivirus.
I assume it was the free one.
Shut up.
what if the assets we send y'all were viruses?
Oh.
Yes, Sam.
Holy. is my rain.
Made me download
I made you download them twice because I had to send a new one.
Yeah.
Did you get to show them like how the game is played, like the real game, the whole thing?
I did.
Yeah, okay,
We showed that. I think it's good to continue now.
All right. How's the chat going? Like, were there any questions in the chat?
There's one. The spike doesn't spin. I think Isabella helped out with that.
Okay.
You helped out with the one person spike. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like taking a quick break right now. I know like if there's like any questions at all, just like let us know.
That was a big info dump.
Yeah. Again, we really apologize because we only have like 2 hours to basically teach you a whole engine. So apologies if we like go really fast or if it feels really condensed, especially if this is like your first engine. Like I said, if you guys have enough time, always feel free to like read the documentation or to go to different tutorials. It's always like the best way to learn. And just like honestly, even just reading the doc. So I don't know did you show them how to like read documentation on this?
I didn't show them how to open it. I really should have.
Okay, so if you ever have a question about what specifically a node does or what kind of functions that node has, just go to literally any node, you right click it, and then if you go down here, you can click open documentation, and it will open it in the in the engine, which is so good.
I didn't know this. Godot programmer.
Godot programmer. This is so useful. So it will tell you all of what. So this node TD will tell you like what it inherits, all of the different nodes that inherit from node 2D. It will tell you like a description. It will give you a tutorial. It gives you like a bunch of really good information. Like it tells you the properties. Tells you what methods you can put on it.
If you scroll down enough, it'll tell you exactly what each of those properties or what those methods do.
Yep.
Looking through this, it's honestly like for game programming, like I'd say 75% of the actual work reading through documentation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I guess we'll go back to business. Oh, okay. We can wait for them to come back.
Yeah.
How's everyone's day going? Any plans for the weekend? No. You have a birthday? Yeah. Is it your birthday?
Yeah. Nice. Happy birthday. It's still a birthday.
It's still a birthday.
Even if you don't plan to do much, at least it's a birthday.
Should we sing it right now? Yeah, okay, now you're good. Our birthday gift will be not singing the birthday song for you.
I have a question though.
Yes.
What's going to be like the frequency of these workshops?
It's going to be every Friday, but sometimes I don't remember the schedule off the top of my head, but every now and then we will have like guest speakers, or we'll have like a game night like what we had last week.
Or we'll have a social.
Or we have like a social.
Most of the time it's on Friday.
Yeah.
Most of the yeah. Oh yeah. If that was what you were asking, most of the time it's on Friday.
Mainly like Unity, like switch off.
It will be a variety of topics. For our first two, we're doing 2 different game engines. We're starting with Godot now, and then we'll move on to. We'll also do a Unity workshop next week. But we'll also do some on topics that aren't involved with like your programming. We'll do some with like level design, music, art, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Each of those will be like intro to each topic, because of course we intend to,
Like one of the ones we did was like how to like design your own characters. Like we talked about silhouettes, like how identifiable is this character from their silhouette. So we like pull up like a silhouette of a character and we like, oh, it's this character, and we talk about, why is that so iconic? Like why do you know who that character is? And it's all because of like really great character design. Talk about what kind of elements to go into it, how to do like your sheets and everything, like, or we do like music, like, how do you make music, like without like music theory or anything like that.
Some of them will be in person, like this kind of like combination in person Discord live. Some of them will be videos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
some of them will be videos, mostly because like there's not a lot of interaction and it just like makes more sense for it to be a video.
Yeah, but some of them, it does require, or it does help to have this in person component. Yeah. Why your work like this? They really just schedule it?
No, because I forgot that we moved our workshop times earlier. So I was like, okay, I'll work from 8 to 4 and I'll like drive all the way over here for our workshops at 5, because I was like so used to having workshops at 5. So yeah. All right.
Unfortunate. Welcome back.
So don't mind my uniform. I don't mind it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the tile map. So earlier, we were working on importing our tiles into the tile map. So, whoa, where did they go? Oh, I didn't save anything. Okay. What Godot does is if you like import stuff in here and then you don't do anything with them, I think if it closes and you go back to it, I think they just delete itself because Godot is like, you're not using it. So it gets rid of it. So if you closed out of the tile set map, just go ahead and just drag those back in. So this ice.png is going to be sort of like the floor that our player will move around on. And this snow.png is going to be the blocks that our player will hit. So when it moves, it will hit the snow, and then it will move like on the ice. Sort of similar to like if you played like the Pokemon games, like any of the ice gym puzzles.
We're gonna give a collider to like the snow block because it has a collider. But our the ice tile, it won't really actually do anything, but like look, it'll just appear.
So now that we've done that, we are going to go ahead and select your ice.png so that you have this like on the little. Actually, let me expand this so it's easier to see. Have that right there. You could also like zoom in so it's like easier to see. We're gonna do new single tile. Go ahead and click that button right there. For region, what region is basically saying is it's just telling Godot what part of this tile we're going to be showing on that tile map. So if you've worked with like tile sheets, so tile sheets are just like a collection of different tiles. If you just want to select a specific tile from that tile sheet, that's what the region is for. But because we're using the whole thing, we're just going to select the whole. So we're going to go over to region. We're also going to click this right here is enable snap to grid. Because it's a square, if you do anything else, it will just basically do like a freeform thing, and you don't have to like click everything and make sure everything's all aligned. So we can go ahead and click snap to grid, which should present a grid right there. So the grid looks weird, and that's because, I don't know why he did this, but Kenny made his assets 70 pixels by 70 pixels instead of like a normal like 64 by 64 or anything like that. So we just have to adjust that.
If you recall, that's why we set the window size to such a specific.
Yeah, it's really specific. If I remember how to set it.
Do you not have it in the notes?
No. I think it's...
I'm usually not the person who deals with the tile map in their game project.
Snap options. There we go. Thank you. So for step, so if the step size is 32, you could honestly just change it to 70. And it should, yeah, if you see it's like changing right there. Whoops, that's way too big.
Yes, 7.
And now when you do region and you just click the whole thing, it will select the whole region. So, we don't really have to do the collision because we don't really collide with this. So I have it on my notes here, but you don't really have to do it. So we'll just do the region for now. Okay, so does everyone's like tile sort of look like this right here? All right, perfect. Yes. Okay, so when you click on IcePNG and when you click on anywhere on the IcePNG in this little window, it should appear on this right-hand side on your inspector. It should be under tile, snap options, and then step, and then 700 right here. Yeah, no problem. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing for snow. So just go ahead into your snow PNG, go ahead and hit new single tile, select region, snap to grid. Oh wait, snap to grid was already on, sorry. And then just click it, and then it will select the whole thing. This time, because this is something that the player will interact with, it will run into this, we can go ahead and do the collision. So select collision. For this one, just go ahead and click on it. There we go. You need to select the square new rectangle, and then just go ahead and select it until the whole thing is, like click on this image until the whole thing is blue. Does everyone sort of have that right there? All right, perfect. Okay.
I don't have it there.
Wait, who said that? Oh.
I'm on the Discord.
Okay. I was like, a voice from beyond. Okay.
No, I'm psychic actually. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when you select collision, you can go ahead and click on that square, and when you click on it, if you click on it twice, it will change the color. Just make sure you click on it once to know if you've clicked on it like multiple times. You can just hit Control Z until it just goes back to the normal color of the tile. You only need to click it once. Just remember to have the new rectangle selected, and when you click on it, it should select the whole thing. Just click on it once. I don't really, honestly, I don't even know what it does. Actually, I do know what it does when you click it twice. It like changes the property of the collision, but we just need it to be like a normal collision.
Is it supposed to be on edit selected? Like
Yes, on edit.
Because when I
So,
click new single tile,
Mhm.
region appears. If I have it selected on edit, there's no region or anything.
So when you click on Snow PNG, and then if you click on the actual image itself, it should bring up all of like the new single tile, the region, collision, occlusion, navigation, everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to click on the image. It's not bringing that up. It's weird. Did you do anything on like the top right area to make something appear?
No. You said did you already click new single tile?
I didn't. Yeah, I'm able to click on that.
Okay. And then when you clicked on it, did anything appear, like this little toolbar up here that says like region? I think when you click on it the first time, it should only say region. And then when you click on the image itself, it will bring up collision, occlusion, navigation, all of those.
Yeah, I clicked new single tile. We could go back to ice because it's not working for ice either.
Okay. So on ice, so let's say we haven't made the new tile yet. We'll just create another tile for ice just so we can follow along. So on ice, when you click on it, is this sort of what you see on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go ahead and click new single tile. And when you do, a new sort of like tab at the top should like drop down and it says region, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and then on region, you could go ahead and just click anywhere on the ice box. Whoop. And it should sort of like highlight that whole thing. Does it highlight it all for you?
No. Let me see. Let me just try to re-delete ice complete. No. I'll drag a new ice in here. New tile. Region. Is this enable snap and show grid? Should I click on that maybe?
Yes. That might be the issue. Because it should show up a grid. And if you get a grid that looks like this, like it's not really like aligned with the tiles, all you need to do is just go, when you click on the object or any part of this of the tile, you can go to the right hand side right here and you could go to snap options. There's a drop down menu that says snap options right here. When you click on that, you could change the step to 70 because these are 70 by 70 tiles. And then it should basically cover the whole thing. And then when you click on it, everything should pop up.
Yeah, I see.
Does that sort of work out?
Yeah, I just hadn't clicked on the magnet. Enable snap and show.
All right, perfect. Yeah, no problem. So I think I have multiple of the tiles now, but it's okay. I'll show you how to delete those. Okay, so now that we have that, we actually have our tile map set. We could go ahead and sort of like shrink this, and in order to access those tiles, just go ahead and click on tile map, double click on it, and you'll see that on the side here on the right, you now have sort of like a palette of your tiles. So I think we're gonna work on 0 because 0 is the one that we made. For this one, you could just go ahead and I think you could just right click it, or you could just press delete. Do you have a delete button? Delete. There's a way to remove it, but I can't remember.
You want me to try?
Yeah.
Right clicking actually does not work. Holy.
Or I don't know if it's because of the laptop or.
No,
there is a way to
right-clicking does
remove
not
it.
work.
There is a way to remove it because I've done it so many times before.
Tile maps.
Tile maps. Okay.
Well, for now we can just.
Okay. Now we can start putting down our tile maps. So when you select on your tile right here, you can just go ahead and put it anywhere. If you notice, however, there's a little bleed, and that's because our grid hasn't been set up yet. So remember what we said before. Everything is sort of set to 64 by 64 because that's sort of like the standard. For some reason, these assets are all in 70 by 70 pixels, so we just need to fix the grid as well. So to fix the grid, on the side here in the inspector, you just go to cell, and you can just change the size, similar to what we did earlier. So you do 70 by 70. And now when you put it back in, everything sort of fits.
place the tiles from the tile map, you need to left click, and then if you need to erase them, like you actually did something, just right click.
Very simple. Another handy thing, I don't know if they mentioned this to you guys yet, but this blue line here, I know it's super faint, but this blue line right here is actually your window size. So remember in the very beginning, we set the window size to something very specific to accommodate for those like weird tile sizes. So this window basically tells you what the player can see. So when we put down our tiles, we could just put everything inside this square right here.
If you're going to add a camera, then that initial view isn't as important. But because we don't have a camera, it will default to that blue box.
Here's a fun thing you could do. You could just like do this. You could create an outline. Oops, I kind of messed up. All around. And then there's a paint bucket tool and you could just fill it in. Boom! Very simple.
There's all sorts of, I don't remember what the shortcuts are, but you are able to even create like rectangles and you're even able to create like lines. And there's all sorts of other tools that are like more advanced for if you have more complicated tile sets too.
Okay, so that's gonna be the tiles for the ice background, which is like the floor, and then now we just need to put the snow. So in this project for the snow, I basically just put it around, I just put it around the border so that our player isn't endlessly flying into the void. Oh God, this is so difficult to do on a trackpad. Okay, we'll figure it out.
If I'm not mistaken, I think because you did an extra blue like line on the side, right? Or did you fix that?
I did not fix that. Wait, where? This one?
No, like because I think is it the ones on the right side? Are they not visible anymore? Because
you're right.
Because you made it just a bit too along, right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna just copy it from level?
Listen, I can program. I can program all I want, but I just am so bad at designing levels or any kind of puzzle. So
I'm just gonna do this one.
So I literally asked a friend, like, hey, can you design an ice game level for me? Like from Pokemon? He gave me this. I was like, perfect, thank you. So we are just gonna copy what this looks like. You can feel free if you have the mind to make your own puzzle, feel free to like make your own design, to change up a few things, but for now, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna take a picture because I'm gonna forget where these tiles go. Boop. Okay. So let's go back to the normal Godot workshop. I'm just gonna erase these. I know like the player can't see it, but it just bothers me. Okay, so starting from like the top right here, that's two snow tiles down. Make sure I'm on snow. 2 snow tiles down, and then everything here is a snow tile. Oops, I added an extra one. I'll just draw this and then I'll leave it up there in the screen for now, and then make sure everyone has it. Simple. If anyone has like ever worked on like pixel art before, it's like kind of what it feels like this, like that, and then wow, I have no idea where that is. It should be right here. Okay, so that should be the level. So I'll zoom in for you guys. That's not zooming it in. That's not zooming it in either. There we go. So just basically make sure this all looks like that. I'll give you guys like a few minutes to like set that up. Let's do a couple fun things. So I'm gonna go up here. Oh, you know what? Oh, that's disgusting. Okay, actually, I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so if you're working on like a tile-based game, so something that like works with tile coordinates and things like that, really simple way to make sure all of your sort of assets are in line with the tiles is you could go ahead and use grid snap, which is similar to what we did earlier. So you could go ahead and activate tool grid snap, but all of these squares are really, really tiny. And when you like move anything around, it will follow along like those grids, right? Because this is so specifically like 70 by 70, we could do something similar to what we did earlier and just snap it to 70, and it just makes it easier to like put our player everywhere. So to do that, we'll go ahead and hit the three dots right here for snapping options. We could go to configure snap. And then here on grid step, you can just go ahead and set it to 70 or 35 or whatever denomination of like pixel size you guys have set.
I've never seen this either. It's over, by the way.
Good.
I coded pathogen in 2 weeks, okay?
And then now when you like snap, now when you like move the character, you can notice, why is it doing that?
Is it too big? Did we,
Oh, because this is snapping from the middle.
oh. Did you make it too big, though? The things?
No, it should be the same size. I don't think I changed any.
Because I did just take it directly from the doc.
Yeah, it should be the same one. I heard your suggestion, but I totally forgot what you said. I just know I heard it. Oh, the offset, you're right. Well, you could also do this. So now, in the original game, the player was sort of right here. And then at this stage, we could just go ahead and test to make sure everything's working. We could make sure, the main thing that we're gonna test is we're gonna make sure to test that when the player inputs a movement, if it collides with this ice, the player should not move. And basically we're just testing to make sure these snow blocks are collidable and that the player can successfully sort of navigate around. So we're gonna go ahead and hit Control S. If this is your first time saving it, it will pop up this window like usual. You could just hit save. Boop. Okay. And then we could just go ahead and hit play right here. Please confirm. What?
I think it's the other
okay.
button. Because it's the one that's...
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
So, play scene.
Although this is probably going to end up being your default scene, probably.
He moves so slow.
Listen, I just took the values directly from the...
He moves so slow, but he hits the ice block.
Holy.
Okay, so it takes a million years for this guy to move. We could fix that really easily. Because look, Lily, look at that. This is sort of why in the code we made the speed variable an exporter variable. That way, instead of like digging into the code to like change it manually, you could just do it from here. Obviously, if you want to have like a constant and just never have anyone change this, essentially, you could just keep it not as an export variable. What was that noise?
Probably other people missing their sound.
Let's do 280. I don't know.
4 times speed.
Shoot, I keep clicking that one. Get out of here.
It's also S6 on PC, which we went over it. I think it's Command R.
There you go. That's actually not that bad. You can make him move impossibly fast, which is kind of funny. Sorry, I'm showing you the solution to the game. Okay, let's make him like really fast. Give me a really high number.
5,000.
2,000?
2,000.
I hope this doesn't. This is really fun because you can see if it breaks the game. He's a speedster. Are you guys paying attention? That's the solution to the puzzle. Are you guys paying attention?
High enough velocities will, in fact,
Just-
cause you can actually end up if you do, it will clip out. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's happened. in
This,
some.
I think when I coded this first, Jordan told me like, "Hey, the player can clip through things," and I was like, "No, it doesn't," because before when I first made this, I made his collision a circle to match the circle here. So that
why
came
it's a
in.
rectangle?
That's why it's a rectangle because it came into a few issues with it colliding with stuff. So it would just basically like clip corners and stuff like that, and it would eventually just break the game. So that's why it's a rectangle now.
Of course, Jordan would figure out that it clips.
Yeah, Jordan was trying to figure out how to speedrun the game, and he figured out that it clips.
If you ever want someone to like just test your game like millions of times,
Ask Jordan.
with it, ask season or
I believe his username is just straight up Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Salim3.
Salim3, the Knuckles, or I don't know. But if you just like do at
Salim3
Jordan,
and Knuckles, right?
if you just like do at Jordan, it should be like that. He's literally just called Jordan in
His
this
username
room.
is just Jordan.
Yeah, you just say hi to just spam him right now.
That's all they had to do.
Ask him about let me think. Ask him about. I'm trying to think. What's a good thing to ask Jordan about?
There's no good thing.
You're right.
Okay, so the
I
game
have a
works.
question,
Perfect.
by the way.
Yes.
So, can you go over the snow collision again? I think I missed
Yes. Okay. So let's head over to tile map. Well, actually, first, before we do that, just make sure all of your layers are correct. So make sure that on layer 2, your physics layer is set to 2. 2 is true, and then 1 is false. And then make sure your collision mask is set as 1 is true. So that's one thing because that deals with the collisions as well. I can't tell you the amount of times that I couldn't figure out why something wasn't colliding the way I wanted it to, and it's because of this. It's because of these things.
Yeah, I have layer 2 selected and masked.
Okay, perfect. So, go ahead and go to tile map, and if you basically scroll all the way up here, if you click right here where it says tile set, it should pull up that window we were messing with earlier.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and click snow, or if you haven't imported snow yet, just go ahead and drag and drop the snow.png over to this right left-hand side. Go to snow, and then we'll basically just start from just like creating the whole new tile. You're gonna collect a new single tile, which should bring up this region tab.
The region.
You can go ahead and click on it, which will select the whole thing. Once you select the whole thing, it should give you a bunch of new tabs. The one that we're going to work with is just called collision. So when you go to collision, go ahead and make sure that you select a new rectangle. Because this one will just basically, if there's points, like a vector points on your thing, the mouse pointer basically just adjusts those vector points. So it doesn't actually create the new tile, which is why we have to do the square. So when you click the square and you click on the whole thing, it should just highlight everything, and that's all you have to do.
Oh, okay. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll just.
And then now I have another snow, but it's okay.
Someone's asking.
The player is not snapping in the right place. It is snapping to center grid lines. Okay, yeah. So we fixed that earlier. There's another way to fix it. The way that I fixed it. So let's go back to the snap options here. So when you do configure snap, the way I fixed it, I just fixed it by doing it as halves. So half of 70 is 35, which is why the grid is set up the way it is. The other way to do it is just do an offset. I believe if we offset it by, let's offset it by 35. And then you set the grid to 70 exactly.
To be fair, I haven't done too many tile-based projects, but I still can't believe I didn't know about this.
Whoops. I hear it. I hear the game.
It's me. I'm making those noises.
Okay, yeah. So if you do the offset and you just offset it by 35, it basically just moves the origin 35, and you could sort of fix it from there. So whichever one you prefer, you can either set let me just pull up the menu again. So click these 3 dots next to snap grid, configure snap. Whoops. Configure snap. So you could either do grid offset 35, which just moves the origin over to like whatever corner, or and then you change the grid step to 70 pixels by 70 pixels, or you can leave the grid offset to 0 and then just set the grid step to half of 70, so 35. So whichever one you want to do. Just let me know if that's working for you. Okay, nice, perfect. All right, so we have this, and honestly, you could just, if we're talking about MVPs, this literally would be your MVP. That's it. You don't even need your coins, you don't even need your spike balls. If you guys were there for the MVP meeting, which was last Tuesday, this would be your MVP. That's it. That's the whole game. So basically, a player that can move and can navigate and can only basically lock movement, just move in either the X or the Y axis, but never both at the same time. Make sure that the walls are colliding. This would be your MVP. And honestly, I could just say yep, that's your game. Because in Pokemon, yeah, this is literally it in Pokemon. But we are going to add a few more features. So we are going to implement those coins, and we are going to implement those spike balls.
You just add them in the folder, right?
Yep. Having defined okay.
Balls work out of the box. The coins you need to connect it to the string.
Yes.
We can start with spike ball.
So I'll do the spike balls later because we need to set up the HUD thing first, because the HUD is what
No,
connects.
that's true.
Okay, so we are going to create a script on this canvas layer called HUD. So similar to how we did it before, just go ahead and click the new script button up here. Just go ahead and call it that. So it's going to be a script that inherits canvas layer, and it's going to be called HUD.gd, which should be good. And you just go ahead and hit create. So it's going to bring up all of like the normal stuff right here. So we can just go ahead and delete most of this. Okay. So we're going to make a variable and we're going to call it coins. And what this is basically just telling the HUD how many coins does the player have currently. Obviously, when you start the game, the player doesn't have any coins, which is why we initiate it to 0. Next, we're going to call, I don't know why I deleted it, but we're going to go ahead and call on ready. We're going to go ahead and call on ready. And then what we're going to do, remember this.
The curly brackets in GD script.
Shoot. Listen, we're coding in Java in my class right now, okay? Don't make fun of me. Is it supposed to be just colons, right? Okay.
Yeah, it is. And then tabs.
And then tabs. Okay. Listen, me and Larry have been coding and processing, all right?
Yeah.
And they do it in in the Android studio. This is curly brackets. Okay, listen. There's a lot of I don't understand why they could just keep it to one thing. Anyway, remember this coins right here? So because this script is attached to this parent of HUD, we're gonna go ahead and call the coin that's down here. So the way that we call it is, yes, it's a text box. So the way we call it is you go ahead and just do the $, and then you do coin. It should auto fill it right there for you, so you could just hit tab, and that's coin. So basically, we're calling coins in this node right here.
Like I mentioned earlier, the $sign is it's a shorthand included in GDScript for the function get_node and then parentheses, and then it should be the text after.
Yeah.
It's just easier to do it like this because it is more readable in my opinion, it's not as readable, but it's way shorter. It's just $sign instead of having to call the function over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now we're gonna do .text. What .text does is, I think
you're getting the.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering if you could hover over it and it'll tell you. I was wondering if GDScript.
No, unfortunately.
Okay, so you do .text, and that basically edits the text. And what we're going to do is going to do string. Whoa. String, and then you do coins.
So this is just a typecast from int to string because the text needs to be a string, so it's typecasting.
Yeah, basically what they said. We're just typecasting. If you guys have taken like 1300 or just basically any coding class, like typecasting is just like you turn one variable into an instance of a different variable type. So yeah, we're just turning the coins int that we made up here into a string that will change, and we're changing the text to that essentially. Okay. And then this. So, you already made the coin collected on here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
we skipped the animation thing that makes it disappear though. But
that's fine. That was just like an extra thing I wanted to do.
It looks cool, but
whoops. Okay, so remember back when we did the coin, and you guys already went over like how to do signals and stuff like that. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. So remember back when we did the coin script, we created a new signal called connected. At any time the player entered the body of the coin, it will emit the connected signal. So what we're gonna do is on the collected signal right there, we're gonna go ahead and hook that up to our HUD script. So
you'll have to create the coins first, right? You'll have to add the coins in first. Or?
The coin is already in there.
Oh.
Yeah. So just go ahead and double click collected, and then we are going to. Oh yeah, you're right. I have to do this from the level.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay, so sorry. So you go to the coin node that's in the level scene, and then you can go hit collected. That's my bad. Right there. And then when it asks you where to go ahead and connect it to, just go ahead and connect it to the HUD that's right here. So it's gonna create the receiver method, which is on coin collected, and you just go ahead and do connect. And now you have this new code that shows up called on coin collected.
For the most part, thankfully, a lot of Godot's like default names for function, like for functions that it creates when you like connect signals, they're very readable actually. You can see it just automatically made it into on coin collected. We didn't type that out, it was automatic. So,
yeah, my favorite thing too is like if you notice like these signals, like this is called body entered, but when you make it, it calls it on coin body entered because that's the name of the node that we did, which is super cool. I like that it does that. Very nice. Godot Pog.
yes.
All right, so on this function, you go ahead and clear that pass. We're gonna do coins plus equals 1. Really simple. That just means like if it's
Increments by
collected,
1.
just increments by 1. And then we're gonna call ready. So when we call this, all we're telling it to do is just to update the text on that HUD.
You could make it another function for readability purposes, but we're lazy. We're just going to call the ready function again. Ready already gets called, like it's already initializes whenever this initializes in the scene. It'll call it automatically. But we can also call it just because we're lazy. If you want to reinitialize, basically.
Yep. And then we're going to add one more line of code, which is just going to be a conditional. We're going to say if coins equals 3. So if the player has 3 coins, you do get tree dot change scene. And because we don't have like any kind of menu screen or anything, we're just gonna reset the level. So we're gonna do similar to what we did earlier, like in the spike ball. We're just gonna do that. So I'm just gonna copy paste. I'm just gonna copy paste this, honestly.
I don't know if you're just better, like more used to doing it, but it's like so much easier talking with just not just.
Listen, when you work in customer service, you gotta talk. You gotta talk, man. People be asking you like strange questions.
I am cut out for customers.
People are crazy. Anyway, sorry, I forgot to put the parentheses, which is why it's giving me the error. All right, so does everyone's yes?
Connect the signal again.
Yeah, so to connect the signal, you have to do it from the coin instance within the scene itself. So just go ahead, when you click on coin, like the coin in the scene level, on the right-hand side, you'll see like all of the normal settings. In order to change to that signal, you just click on node, and it should bring up the signals. Okay, perfect. All right, I'll give you guys a few seconds to make sure that all of the code looks good. Is Discord, how we do in Discord, gamers, how we do in chat.
Is it like every other day you have game night or how?
Honestly, it's just like it's whenever we don't have anything planned is when we have game nights. Yeah, so like if we're like, oh, nobody wants to do the workshop and like we don't really have anything planned up, it's like, oh, let's just do a game night. Yeah. I think there's like a few more coming up, right?
So we're still waiting on like some other like I guess entities to confirm like whether they're going to be coming in doing whatever they're expecting. But if nothing happens then we're probably just going to announce it as a game. Then we'll probably have like another like major one coming soon. We also have a social coming up for our round 1. I think we sent out links to it in the announcements. We just sent it out either tonight or
Holy sh! My phone is blowing up. My player doesn't move when I test it. Okay. That's very interesting because that's a way far back. Okay. Let's take a look at the script then. So if your player isn't moving, first off, does your everything sort of look like this on your screen in terms of your script for your player? Okay. Did you set up your keys? No problem. Have a good one. So when you go to project and you do project settings, in the input map, were you able to add like the WASD? It just moves a bit and resets to its position, so it doesn't really move. That's really interesting. Whoops. keep clicking that button. It just moves a little bit. It did move before I added all the tile set stuff. Oh, okay. You might be, okay. I think I know what the issue might be. It might be an issue with how you set up your tiles. So an important thing to note is that when we made the ice.png, we didn't add any collision to it. So if we go to like, if you just go back to tile set and we do tile, we haven't added any kind of collision to it. So what I think might have happened is you put a collision, like I guess like mask over the ice, and it's like essentially stuck. Like you've clipped it into the ice essentially. Does that make sense? So so the way to like sort of rectify that is, I really can't remember how to just delete these tiles we're making. I would just create like new single tile, and then we'll just like do what we did earlier. We just like select the region, and then do not make any collisions because we're not colliding with those. And now I have a lot of the same PNGs on there. I'll figure out how to remove them eventually. I know there's a way to do it. I just Alt F4? Really?
The Alt F4, it immediately displays like my Discord, like DMs.
Oh, that deletes the whole node. I don't want to do that.
One of them is, yeah, I think it's number 2.
I think, yeah, number 2 is only a fourth of the tile.
Nice.
Yeah. That's what I've been trying to do this whole time. I know there's something here.
Just click it, like the words. The whole word.
The whole word?
Click the word tile set.
Click the word tile set. No, because this only creates. There's a way to do it because I've done it before. I just can't remember.
We can edit it out in post.
Yeah, we can just.
We'll just like clip in just Sam like crisply like saying the.
There's a way to do it. I know it's like in this window somewhere.
We should probably continue.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, okay. All right. So everyone has that connected, right? So the coin, I had this invisible earlier because I wanted to test it without having the coin in the way. But we could just go ahead and test to make sure that the coin essentially like collides with our player. So let me just put the player back in the spot. Damn it! I keep doing that. Okay.
It should disappear.
It should. Okay. Yeah.
Animated, so.
Yeah, that's why it takes a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now we just need to basically add the spike ball, which is similar, I believe. Oh, actually, let's go ahead and set up the HUD because that's something to let the player know that everything is working correctly. So when we go to panel and we go to its properties,
I actually don't remember. I remember having a hard time finding it. Is it under theme? No.
No.
Rect? Oh.
It was theme. Nope, it's not that one.
Is it theme overrides?
No, it's not theme overrides.
We should probably set it up. I actually do remember not being able to find it. Hold on. Styles?
Input. This is so. Did they change the name of it? Because it used to be under theme.
It was under something. It definitely should be under the panel section, right? Is it under like one of the anchor margin things?
No, because that's just like telling you like where to put
position,
it.
Right?
Yeah. There's like there was something that was like import new. Maybe it is. Oh, they did change it. You know what? I remember this. They did change it. I hate it. Dang it. I should have taught myself how to do this because they did change it.
I honestly don't remember opening the theme when I was practicing. Mm-hmm. I did not open the theme menu.
Yeah, I think 3.5 changed how to do it.
3.5.
Yeah, because I remember when I was trying to make another game, they changed how to import all those things.
I'm so sorry. I swear I changed the dock.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. We could just move on to the spike ball. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get into the HUD for now, but we could just go ahead and put in the spike ball and make sure the reset works.
It should just work out of the box. You don't need to connect it at all.
Yeah, I don't know why it's huge, but we will just like let's just put it right here.
Ah, yes, big boy.
Should we even try to change the size of this? No, we're just gonna keep it.
For now, but it should just, you should, if you want to, you should probably scale this sprite down to 0.5. 0.5.
Okay, and then when you hit it, it should just reset the level.
Yep, it does.
So you can just do this infinitely. And then remember our win condition, if we get 3 coins, essentially we just
Reset the level.
reset the level again. So let's just import a bunch of coins on here.
You can just duplicate the one that exists.
I know you could do that, but I remember there used to be an issue before where when you change one of the duplicated nodes, it changes all of the nodes.
Right.
But that shouldn't really be like an issue. So same thing, we're just gonna like drag these. Let's just put them all in a line. Whoa. Oh, because I moved the icon and not that. Okay, whatever. No, stop doing that.
Yeah, you're currently selected on the spike balls.
Yeah.
Wait, so how do you add multiple coins again exactly?
You could just instance it one by one, or you could do if you like hover over them.
Control D, right?
You could do Control D and it duplicates it.
Or right click duplicate.
Or right click duplicate. Yeah. There you go. Sorry, working on a trackpad is difficult.
Yeah, I really should have brought a mouse.
Okay. Now. So if you theoretically, if you just press the D button, you will just collect all of these coins and you will win the game. It didn't reset. Oh, you know why?
You didn't connect them. You need to connect all of the.
Yeah. So for each child, you have to reconnect it back to the HUD.
There are probably better ways to go about it, but because we've hard coded, for now, we'll just do this.
Yeah. Also, when you connect it, because it's called coin 2, just go ahead and delete the 2, and it will just connect it to the same function.
Yeah, you're gonna want to connect it to the existing function rather than the original function. So this is the one time we'll change the defaults.
Yeah.
Because we want all of them to be on the same. Okay, now it should work probably. Hopefully. This is unfortunate.
Okay, you know why? I know exactly why this happens. It's because the player ends. So when we do the animation, even though this disappears, the actual the sprite is what's disappearing, not the area that the code is attached to. So when the player is in here, it's still incrementing it. So instead of having 3, it actually goes up to 4. And remember in our script, we said it has to be exactly 3 to reset. So the way we change this is either we just move it, or we just make it so that if it's greater than 3, greater than or equal to 3, then easy fix.
Damn, I actually didn't catch that.
Mine worked, by the way.
It worked. Let's go.
He goes, did I do less than 3? Dang it.
Oh, is it? Wait, that's so good.
Listen, I'm left-handed.
It should be an immediate win.
Oh,
Yeah. Hey, there we go. Listen, I'm left-handed, so I don't know my lefts and rights.
Yeah. Feel that.
What? It's still not doing it. Okay,
I
now.
have no idea. I got nothing.
That's the idea.
Dang, I thought I figured it out because I'm so smart. Here, let's move you out of the way. Get out of here. I don't want
Leave
to.
him. Let him be.
I wonder if it's because it's doing it too fast.
Maybe turn it down. I don't know.
Let's make him move really slow again.
Not being able to see the counter is kind of,
Oh yeah, not being able
Maybe
to.
we really should have set up the hood first. You want us to change the code? We're gonna. I mean, we could, but like
I
we're
could
already
just.
gonna set up the hood anyways.
Okay.
We do. Okay.
Sorry, that was totally my bad that I forgot to double check on the HUD stuff because they did change how to access all that stuff. So I will go through that on the on that video for all of like the tables and stuff like that. Okay.
We might.
It worked for me when I did the duplicate coins. So maybe it's only connected to one of the coins because you made multiple different coins there, but you only connected one of the coins to being on.
Oh, I'm dumb.
You connected it to player instead of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably why then.
Haha, that's why it didn't work. Oh no, I changed it. Okay, hold on. Hold on, guys. We're gonna figure this out. I know what's happening.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I wasn't paying attention. My bad.
I saw it as soon as it said player and not HUD. I think it was just for that last one. Oh, I forgot to get him slow again. Yay, it works! Okay, that's our MVP. Woo! All right, so sorry we had to rush through that. And again, I'll go into the HUD. If you see, it's so small. It says 0. I'll go into I'll go into how to finish up the HUD and how to basically make this menu right here. So going into, let me close this. So making the menu, and also I'll even tell you guys like how to export it into HTML and how to upload it to itch. I think that's like something I could just do over a video. But I'll teach you guys how to like set up this screen, how to get the buttons to work so when you hit play, you can just play the game. I'll teach you how to implement the BGM. That one's super simple. How to just put the BGM in there. But yeah. If I just play the game for a little bit, I'll show you that the number changes. I'll show you how to set that up. See, so the number changes when I collect 1. And then the number changes when I collect 2. And then this one, it won't change up to 3 because it just instantly wins. And then I'll teach you how to like do this one screen. And then when you hit exit, we'll just go back to this main one. So I'll go over all of that in an upcoming video. Hopefully I could get that done for you guys. Yeah. Again, so sorry this was rushed. So sorry about the HUD thing because I totally forgot that they changed it for the new update on Godot. But thank you so much, you guys, for being here. For those of you who stayed, don't forget to do the sign-in sheet for later. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Definitely first workshop, so we're sort of figuring everything out. Next workshop, we definitely will have it more. We'll definitely like taste it better.
Yeah.
It's sort of we're just all getting used to it. So yeah.
It was a little easier 2 years ago because everything was online.
Thank you for bearing with
and there
us.
was like no like limitations on like how long we could do a workshop for. But again, like thank you for everyone who like sticking with us. I'll also leave a link to where to find this game because I have it on my itch page.
Post it in like announcements or something.
Yeah.